Hey Mickey, how are you? Thank you
Yeah.
for taking some time out to chat with me.
Oh, my pleasure.
So where in the US are you?
I'm in Nashville.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. Cool.
I have two. I have one, two, three deer crossing my driveway right now.
Oh, wow. So tell me about playing with Willie Nelson. I mean, how did that happen? What's it like? Is that a full-time thing?
Yeah, we've been full time as far as we probably doing 90 to 100 cities still a year, other than this year. But I was out. We were out January and February.
Right.
We toured then. We were doing about 10 gigs a month.
Mhm.
And have been for the past several, past 5, 6 years. And where before that, there were a few more dates. We do maybe 120 cities. So
Yeah.
now we're down to, maybe 100, close to 100, because Willie just loves working. And I
Yeah.
started playing with him in '73
Wow.
when he was, just coming back from Nashville and moving to Texas. And I was kind of a harmonica player playing in the folk scene
Mm.
with, I was playing with B.W. Stevenson at the time, but I had no country background at all. I didn't know anything about country music,
Mm.
and met him, and was so kind of enamored by his playing, and he asked me to come sit in with him, and the rest was history, I guess. And then I go back and I'd study, guys, Charlie McCoy, who played on some of his early records, and I became aware of listening to a lot of the country, artists that Charlie played with. Merle. Not he didn't play with Merle that much, but I mean, like, Roy Orbison and George Jones, and just all the country stuff that was going on in the '70s,
Mm.
'60s, '70s.
Yeah.
So Charlie's been really a big, big, big influence on me.
Did you kind of consciously change the way you played, or was it just a natural thing?
Yeah, it really fit because it was just it's very the songs were melodic, and it was really about the lyric. And in that folk scene, that's what you were doing. The folk music was a lot about the lyric, and the chords were simple, so to say. 3, 4 chords in the song, and that was similar to the country songs, other than Willie's arrangements, which were really kind of strange. And I'm still fighting, still trying to figure out what to play on some of the songs. But one thing with Willie is nothing was locked in. The arrangements weren't really locked in. When we played was was a definite thing. But what we played, I could play something different. Every show, every time we played the song,
Yeah.
I had enough freedom. So it's not just learning to express myself. It was like searching for what fits on this song.
Yeah.
Because this timing was so unique.
Yeah. It's kind of nice. I mean, and I suppose it's almost unique these days that you've been able to devote yourself to the harmonica in a band setting and not have to kind of do a load of other stuff and get distracted by doing other stuff just so that you can be in the band. I mean, obviously he must trust you and value your playing so much and value the sound of the harmonica enough that he wants you. And most harp players, they kind of end up being the singer in the band because they kind of have to be in the band almost. It's kind of like you've got
Yeah.
this dream job.
Yeah, because his pedal steel player left, Jimmy Day, left the band, and there was a hole there, and Willie really wasn't going to replace him with another steel player. So I just happened to come around at the right time. It's all timing, and Willie gave me a chance, and nobody else was really using harmonica players as instrumentalists, on the road, like a second guitar or a fiddle or a steel. So I mean, Waylon had Donnie Brooks playing with him for a while, who was my mentor, who taught me a lot of stuff about the harmonica. So Willie just took a chance and seemed to work out. But he trusted me and trusted my ear, and I was always learning and learning on the job, really.
Mhm.
So that's why he never really would tell me what to play,
Yeah.
but just tell me when he'd nod at you, and you knew it was your time to solo.
Yeah. When I met Charlie McCoy, he was saying when he did some sessions with Simon and Garfunkel, Paul Simon was like dictating every single note he had to play, and it was kind of like this complete opposite of he's the session boy and he's got to do exactly what he's told, kind of thing.
Yeah, I had the same experience with Paul. I mean, Paul was brilliant, but when I worked with him, he wasn't sure what he wanted. So we tried everything. I was there for hours. I was doing this rhythm thing on the harp, and it went on and on and on, and he got everything out of me that he could, and then we ended up using my very first take.
Oh, so which record was that for?
Well, it was from when Willie cut Graceland.
Okay.
And Paul produced it.
Right.
So I went up to the studio with him, and he's great. I love Paul, but during those sessions, he went from being my best friend to my worst enemy. It's like, how can I just get out of here? But he was so, he knew what he wanted, but he wasn't sure how to articulate it, and he got, he just got everything out of me that I was physically capable of doing, and I learned a lot from it.
Yeah. Have you? I mean, obviously, it sounds like you've been so busy with Willie. Have you done much session work?
Yeah, I did. I've been working with. Who have I been working with recently? Well, when I'm not touring with Willie, I'll go out with Chris Stapleton. Because I played on his record, Traveler. And I worked with Kenny Chesney on record. I just did something with Nathaniel Rateliff yesterday. And then Willie's working on another Sinatra record. Wow. But yeah, I'll do a few sessions around town.
You mentioned a bit about your mentor. So can you say a bit about how you learned to play?
Yeah, well, Donnie Brooks was from Dallas, where I grew up, and I saw him play in a little coffee house back in the late 60s. And when I saw, he was really the reason I started playing, because when I heard him play, and I was a teenager at that time, I was in high school, it just blew me away. This guy, I was a sort of a struggling musician. I was playing guitar, but very poorly. And I just hadn't locked into, the instrument. And I'd had a harmonica, and when I heard Donnie play, it's like, this is what I want to do. And I met him at this little club called the Rubaiyat, which was in Dallas, where I grew up. And he sat me down I told him I was, interested in playing. And he sat me down outside the club. We sat on these steps outside the club. And he showed me a diatonic scale, how the notes, fit, running up and down the harmonica. And that's the pattern for basically everything I play. So instead of just kind of, hit and miss and trying to sound out songs on the harmonica, this was really the key to, and the basics to everything I do.
Yeah. These days, do you play any different tunings, country tuning or anything?
Yeah, I'll use a country tuning. I use some natural minor tunings. When I play Georgia, I use a natural minor tuning.
Yeah.
And then I've got some other weird things. I've got the turbo harp. That one with it's got a slide.
Yeah.
That pulls the notes down. So I'll just use it for a few very specialized things. Yeah. Then I've got some bass harps, which I love.
Yeah.
Play session calls for it. And then the chromatic, which I'm kind of struggling with now, but I'm playing it on the Sinatra record, but I'm having to write, parts out.
Yeah.
For that, or if there's a part, I'll play diatonic harp, and then if there's a pattern that maybe the piano and the guitar player are doing that they want me to double, then I'll have to pull out the chromatic.
Yeah. I mean, how do you visualize music when you're playing it? Or how do you interact with music? Is it an instinctive thing?
I'm singing the part, I think, to myself, and I'm listening to the other players. I'm listening to the vocal line and staying out of the way of the vocal.
Yeah.
And then I'm listening to what the words are saying to maybe get a mental picture of a mood I would want to create. And then I sing the notes to myself.
Yeah.
So I'm really not thinking technically. On the chromatic, I'm going to have to start thinking, what note I'm playing. But diatonic harp. Yeah. And it was a pentatonic scale, not the diatonic scale. It was a pentatonic scale that Donnie showed me.
I like the sensitivity of your playing, and that you're serving the song rather than it being about ego and kind of showing off. And I think that comes through. So that kind of makes sense that you're thinking about those, the vocals, and you're you're kind of trying to make it fit with the song, which you know, these are simple ideas, but they're not always taken on board by every musician, you know.
Yeah, no, it's hard to not play.
Mm.
It's hard to lay back and listen. In fact, Grady Martin, who was this great studio guitar player from Nashville, played on everybody's records from the 50s, 60s, 70s. He was like the session guitar player, session leader. And he toured with us for about 10 years after he retired from the studio. In fact, when I met Eric Clapton, he came to see us play, and I said, "Do you want to go meet Willie?" He goes, "No, I want to meet Grady."
Wow.
But Grady told me one time, he goes, "Man," he goes, "smoke a cigarette." He goes, take that damn thing out of your mouth. You play too much."
Yeah.
And I was telling that to Charlie McCoy, and he told Charlie the same thing in the studio maybe 10 years before. It's like, you know, don't play when the singer's singing, and you know, you play too much. So even though Grady's delivery was not the most gentle, it was the best advice I ever got.
Yeah. I think phrasing is a difficult thing to teach people on the harmonica. I think partly because you'll get a note when you breathe in, so you can just breathe away through the thing and have a sound constantly. Whereas if you're playing, you know, most other instruments, you're gonna have to take a break to breathe. You know, breathe in at some point.
Well, you can quote. Luckily, I got to meet Miles Davis because Willie's manager managed him, and Miles came out and spent 3 weeks with us in Vegas. We had a sit-down job in Vegas at Caesar's Palace, and he came out every night, sat on the side of the stage and watched. And he picked up one of my harmonicas. In fact, somebody snapped a picture of it, and he goes, "How do you play this thing? You know, how do you play it?" And just started blowing on it. And somebody snapped a picture of both of us with the harmonica. But he said he was telling me that it was not to be a name dropper, but he said what's important is the space between the notes, so you don't have to, you know, you're phrasing. When you're phrasing, take a breath. You know, let it rest a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the space between the notes is just as important.
Yeah.
You know, as what you play.
I mean, you must have met so many big names over the years. Are you used to it now? Do you still get kind of starstruck with anyone you meet?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you know, I do. I mean, it's great to be treated as a peer, but deep down inside, you know, I'm a 12-year-old schoolgirl peeing in my pants.
Yeah.
In my knickers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Miles Davis, fucking hell, you know.
Yeah, he was pretty amazing.
I mean, in terms of teaching people, sometimes I try and give people too much too soon, but you kind of forget that even just breathing, you know, learning to breathe naturally through the instrument is you know, when you first pick up a harmonica and you go through the, you know, just to...
you have to be economical with your breath. That's a whole lesson in itself.
Yeah.
Paul Simon wanted me to teach him some, you know, harmonica, but he wanted to learn a little Walter song.
Yeah.
What is it? I can't remember what it was, but it was, you know, one of Little Walter's just great signature songs. But he wanted to learn it note for note. It's like I told him, I can teach it to you. I can teach you what to play along with it, but I mean, note for note, I can't do that. You know, I'd be Little Walter if I could. You know? But one thing I noticed with him was he would expel all his air before, as everybody does, before you know, you get to the next note. So I mean, a whole lesson in itself is learning how to play, you know, inhale and exhale without running out of air, and to be really economical with your air. And thank God I got to use him as a guinea pig.
Yeah.
You know? But I know I never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, everybody seems to do that at the beginning.
Yeah.
Is you know, because you should be able to breathe through the harmonica and never run out of air, really.
Yeah.
You know? That's a lesson in itself, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So that's something I've put right at the start of my beginner course, but it's something that you have to remind people throughout the whole learning process, because they sort of almost can't believe how different it is from what they naturally want to do. They just feel they have to really force it. And I've had to kind of come the other way in terms of harmonica is my instrument, and then I've learned to sing. Or I can't, I'm not a singer, but I sing because I have to, to get work. And I found when I first started singing, I was applying my harmonica breathing to the vocals, and it was kind of like I wasn't using enough, air almost, because I was trying to balance the whole thing, and it was kind of like I had to learn to change that to suit the singing style,
Yeah, true. I mean, I'm not a singer. Thank God, I've always worked with singers. But yeah, it'd be hard to sing on the inhale.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of teaching, you mentioned earlier you're doing a little bit of teaching. Is that a new thing for you?
Well, yes, it is very new, and it's not so much teaching as it is. We're focusing more on exercising the lung, because I've been working with a doctor at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, and a couple of other scientists about how the harmonica can strengthen the lung. Is a great tool to strengthen the lung. And with this virus and all these people that are having lung damage, right now the tool is this tube you blow into that gives a little resistance to the lung.
Yeah.
And it's very boring, and people aren't doing their exercises. So if you make it fun and give them a harmonica, and then maybe I can be more of a cheerleader than an actual teacher. And then if they want, my point is they want to get to where they want to really learn how to play the instrument, I can, send them to your site or something. They can learn on their own.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But I think I'd be teaching over, right now the model is over the internet like this, but just by getting people to exercise the lung. Really. That's my focus. I don't want to be a teacher.
Sure. Yeah.
But I want them to be able to have fun, with an inhale and an exhale. And the doctor will give me with some research, and actually I've got pictures of it somewhere. But I went to the Mayo, and they put like 80 sensors on my body all around, and then and then it was hooked up to a computer. And when I would play, it would show what parts of the lung were activated. So they can go in and look and say, okay, 2 inhales will exercise this part of the lung.
Yeah.
So I'll get a prescription, that says I need, maybe in waltz time, we need 3 inhales, and then 2 exhales, 1 inhale. And then I'll just do it as an exercise, and then maybe figure out a song that it might, fit or something like that.
That's amazing. So how did that come about? Did you get contacted?
Yeah, I got contacted by one of the guys that's a physical therapist. That's actually a bike trainer. I ride bikes, road bikes, and he was Greg LeMond's trainer. So, and he was in touch, and he's a physical therapist. So he was in touch with with Bruce Johnson at the Mayo Clinic, who's runs a research lab there in the pulmonology department, or the I don't know, for the lung, the pulmonology, department. And they work with free divers and high altitude test pilots. So they had all kinds of great testing equipment that I went through. Other than the one that we have to do that we didn't do yet, they put a sensor inside me to measure through my nose to measure what the diaphragm is doing.
Wow.
But I haven't done that one yet.
Yeah, that sounds a bit intense.
Yeah. It was intense.
So apart from that, what else is occupying your time at the moment?
Oh, just trying to get on my bike.
Yeah.
And we've had some beautiful weather here in Nashville. And then I'm working on this, the Willie Sinatra record. And then he's got another record that he's working on, just of songs that, some covers and some songs he's written. So we've got 2 Willie records that we're currently working on. I've got a little studio in my house, so I can, they can send me the tracks, and I can just do the harmonic overdub. And then I'm taking lessons on chromatic from Rob Paparosi.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sitting down to chat with me.
This is fun. If you ever need anything else, let me know.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mickey. Stay safe.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Liam.
Cheers. Take care, Mickey. Bye.